Hey, so one of the topics that I keep running into is AWS authentication. What I mean by this is that often we take it for granted. The service is not really broken. It works, it serves its purpose, and we are able to log in. But the thing is that technology changes rapidly. What was functioning and suiting our needs 5 years ago might not be the case today. And we rarely stop to think, how can we improve this? Because it's such a fundamental part of our day-to-day practice. Picture it this way. When a company starts out, it's usually one account. From there, we keep adding, and as we keep adding, we start to ask questions around security, governance, and structure. We are then introduced to IAM as a service, but also, maybe more important, one of the first ones we encounter is AWS Organizations. Let's now zoom out a bit and go into IAM. What happens is that when a company starts out, they start creating IAM users. They then add long-lived credentials in order to access certain resources programmatically or maybe to automate, which makes sense. But the problem is that after some time, we keep hearing that we should not be using these, yet we still keep doing it. And so the question is why? I think it's related to that we are just too busy. We don't have the time to look into alternatives and it just works. So what are the dangers then? Well, even though you do add MFA for two-factor authentication, your credentials still need to be located in clear text in your drive. Think of the location, for example, .aws/credentials in a Unix system or a Mac. And then you might be wondering, but what's the problem here? Well, the problem is that if there is a misconfiguration, and we all know this happens from time to time, a mistake, or maybe a bug, then these credentials that are there in clear text are valuable to someone else. Let's now focus on IAM Identity Center, particularly coming from IAM users. The big difference here is that we're now storing everything in a form of a central database, which we can link to Active Directory or the other way around. We can also do a third-party provider connecting to this database. And also, what is equally as important, coming from the IAM situation, is that the long-lived credentials that we previously had are no longer needed. We are now authenticating through a URL, which uses SSO. With this step, we achieve higher security, we achieve better administration, easier to manage, and we now see a clear list of accounts when we are authenticating with SSO. Also, getting short-lived credentials is possible with CLI. Let's now first verify the information here. So on the left side, we have the accounts user interface. On the right side, we have the credentials that we'll be using as we are authenticating, for example, with CLI. We verify the management account number 1542. And now we're going to authenticate with the profile from the configuration. This opens up the new account in a different tab and in a different container. We verify the number, all good. Let's move ahead with enabling IAM Identity Center. So we open up a new tab. Select the right region. Start the wizard. We'll just keep the region, that's all. Enable. This usually takes like 10-20 seconds. Could also be a little less. And done. So let's go ahead and verify the information on the screen. All right. Next up, we'll configure the service. Here we'll take in notes of what we are finding as we are creating the user. So for example, start with the group and then the user. Let's name it admin. And the user will have the details in the text document. Or just name it cloud. place the user in the admin group, and add the user. Here we have the information that we need for the user, save it, for example, the URL for SSO, and of course the password. Next up, we'll be using the URL for the user. Log in with the username, the password that we got before, and here we need to activate MFA. So in this case, I'll do it with my own phone. Verify the numbers. Okay, let's do a different password. And now we see the portal. Let's now proceed with giving the user access to the accounts. And by the way, since the last time, I created a third account. You see the one with 7245 here. So in the IAM Identity Center, we'll go to permission sets. Great. Use a predefined permission set, admin access. Let's change the session timeout to, let's say, 8 hours. All right, create. There we have the permission set. Now, as you can see, it's not provisioned. For that to happen, we need to assign it to accounts. So let's move to the accounts. We can, for example, select all of these, assign users and groups, go to admin. And now we tie it to the permission set that we just created. Submit, provisioning. And if we go back to the permission set, we do a refresh, it says provisioned. And the accounts is also linked. So if we refresh the page here, we'll be able to see 3 accounts. There we go. And let's say I want to log into acceptance. Click here, open. And if we double check, 7245, 7245. And if you want to switch, let's say production, 8653, 8653. From here, I would like for us to focus on the long-lived credentials. So the purpose of IAM Identity Center is partly to remove these, the ones that we see on the bottom right corner. To do so, I'm going to open up the text document here and paste in something from the clipboard. Here, we have the SSO URL, which is the one we got earlier. We also have the account ID that we specify, and then we have the permission set. And we just have to copy this into the configuration. There we are. So now when I'm doing, for example, AWS granted, I simply need to type this profile instead of what was before. So let's give it a try. And in this case, we are going to do access to the terminal, so not open up a console. So demo ACC. Now we are redirected to the browser. We have to confirm and continue. Allow. And if we verify the connection, let's double check. 7245, go back here. That's it. Let's then do the same for production. Copy paste this one. PRD. And let's give it a try. PRD. You can also see here that I have a plugin which tells me which account I'm logged into, or rather which AWS profile. So when I switch, this one should also be updating. And there we go. We can now safely go ahead and remove these credentials since they will no longer be used and we'll be using IAM Identity Center. So remove it here. And if we go to this part, there's no need for these. And if we go to the management account, we can also close this account here. Hopefully you have not been trying to use these credentials. And let's go to users. Oh, sorry, wrong service. Let's go to IAM. If you made it to the end, good work. So far, we've gone through how to implement IAM Identity Center. We improved security, we implemented SSO, and we reduced long-lived credentials. I would say that's a win. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.